Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for session 6 of Nzuko 2022, the Africa Economic and Cultural Week. Session 6 will be looking at reconnecting with diasporas. For those of you who are joining us just now, we've had two very interesting conversations. Earlier, one looking at spinning and reclaiming an African narrative. And right before, we just had a session on less talking, more doing, African development. We will be now welcoming our two speakers for this session, Yinka Olea, who will be speaking on Brazil, the Africa out of Africa, and Sanya Drujulov, who will be talking about reconnecting Africa and Serbia. As for those of you who are joining us now, we will be entertaining a Q&A session after the speaker's first intervention. I want to encourage everyone to be to make a use of the chat function and the Q&A to put their questions to the speaker, but also use the chat just to communicate between yourselves and get the conversation going. If you disagree or agree with what the speakers are saying, or if you have any expertise that you would like to add to the comments that they've made. So without further ado, also would like to thank everyone for their patience so far and apologize for the delay, especially to our two speakers. So without further ado, I want to introduce our first speaker for this session, Yinka Olea. Yinka is a Brazil-based Nigerian artist, writer, journalist, and documentarist. He's an advocate of the Yoruba arts, culture, tradition, and divinity. Yinka promotes African culture and tradition in Latin America, and he has co-published and written several academic and professional articles on culture and tradition in Brazil. He is a member of the Ife Art School and Movement, and Yinka is also a research fellow at the African Cultural Center in Sao Paulo, which is in Brazil, and he's the ambassador for the AG in the Americas. So Yinka, thank you so much for joining us today. Happy Africa Day. And you have the floor to tell us more about Brazil, the Africa out of...
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I hope you're hearing me very well. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I've been listening to all of the talks, and in fact, I'll just say something quite right. Happy Africa Day to every one of us there. But I'll tell you, sincerely speaking, Africa is incomplete without Brazil. If you celebrate Africa, you celebrate Brazil. This is practically Africa, heart of Africa. This is a society where the African culture and tradition and African religion speaks loud. You know, it's a society where every Brazilian, be it black, white, yellow, green, celebrates Africa. Though a diversified society, a society where we have immigrants from all parts of the world. You have Japanese, you have the Asians, you have Europeans, you have the Africans. But the culture that speaks loud here in Brazil is the African culture. I'll be sincere with you. I live here 30 years in Brazil, and I'm an advocate of the tradition. Today in Brazil, we see Africa as an extension, or rather Brazil, an extension of Africa. A Brazilian will always tell you that I'm not an African Brazilian, I'm an African because my ancestors moved to Brazil. I didn't force myself, I didn't bring myself to Brazil. I found myself in Brazil as an African. I was born in Brazil as an African. Today we celebrate in Brazil everything that has to do with Africa. The difficulty, the tragic moment that Brazilians went through, I rather say our ancestors went through, they were forced to Brazil as slaves. It was a difficult situation, to be bad memory. But today it has turned to, I rather say, a glory. The culture, principally the Yoruba culture today, is not to talk of the language, which is practically an official language in Brazil today. The Brazilian government spends millions of dollars to make sure that the culture remains in Brazil. Today, I'll be sincere, I'll be straight with you, that Africans, principally the ones from the West African part of the continent, they migrate to Brazil today to learn more, even of what they should be teaching the Brazilians. Today, the annual festival of art and culture, which is the Samba Festival, which today celebrates Africa. The government spends a lot to make sure that the country remains kind of emblem to Africa. You see, not just Brazil, in Latin America in general, we have a serious celebration of that African culture. Not to talk of the religion, the language, the way Brazilian speaks, the way Brazilian move, the way Brazilian do, everything about them is African. Even in their language, in the Portuguese language, which is the official language in Brazil, a lot of African languages are involved. You know, a lot of wild exclamations in Yoruba language today you find in Portuguese language, which is part of the daily language of the Brazilian people. Our Brazilian will always walk with the African attires, will always hit like an African, will always talk like an African, will always do like an African. See African women, Brazilian women, with the child right at the back, just like the way we do in Africa. You see Brazilians getting water from the wells, just like we do in Africa. You see Brazilians eating with the hands, just like we do in Africa. Not to talk of the Orisha religion. This year's Festival of Art and Culture, it was one of I rather say the finest I've ever witnessed in my 30 years in Brazil. It was a total celebration of the Orisha religion. What's the Orisha? The African gods. You know, the government of Brazil spent millions of dollars to try and explain to the society, to the international community, that the demonization of African religion as a crime, I'll put it that way, saying what we worship in Africa, of the devil or whatever, tagging the Yoruba god issue, which is a Kwesu in Igbo, I don't know how do you call it, the African language, tagging these gods as the Bible, the Abrahamic devil, you know. So all these things are, Brazil today represents Africa. What the countries in Africa have refused to do, they do it in Brazil. The culture, the tradition, we try to throw away in Africa. Brazil takes it. The highest Orisha temple you can find in the world is here in Brazil. The pilgrimage, the visit. If you want to visit Africa, you just don't need to go to Nigeria any longer. You don't need to go to Ghana. You don't need to go to any part of Africa. Visit Brazil, visit Bahia. You are in Brazil. You see everything in Brazil, the way we walk, the way we speak, the way we do, the way we dress. If you point to a Brazilian dressed in the African attire, or you try to discriminate the religion in Brazil, you get arrested. You know, these are the things that we are actually not enjoying in Africa. Even in Nigeria, where I was born as a Yoruba person, I'm an artist, I'm a writer, I'm a painter, I'm a Yoruba artist. I celebrate the Yoruba culture in diaspora. And I can tell you that Yoruba today, a Yoruba person in Brazil is like a god. If you walk around and speak the Yoruba language, they see you as a god. You have the Kimbundu from Uganda, from Kimbundu, Umbundu, the Ashanti. A lot of these cultures are celebrated in Brazil, and they are seen as important people here in Brazil. The Brazilian government invests really. They do a lot to make sure that the culture remains. So if we celebrate Africa Day, we should celebrate Brazil. Because Brazil really represents Africa.
No, I agree, and it's good. I think there is awareness that's being raised. I mean, we know of the unfortunate, I have to say, origin of the strong bond that Latin America has with Africa due to enforced slavery, enslavement, sorry, of the African people. But even, I mean, it was something that we all noticed, I think, when we were children and looking at geography, and you look at the shape of Africa and the shape of Brazil, and it just fits perfectly, more than just geography. It fits because so much, as you're saying, of Brazilian culture is intrinsically African, and it's so powerful to see it. But it's also very interesting to see how Brazilian culture is celebrated. I mean, everyone knows about the carnivals, about, Brazilian culture, and they seem to ignore that a lot of these roots go back to Africa. And it's a shame to say that African culture is not always being celebrated the same way, or when it is celebrated and look at this primitive art, look at this primitive dance, look at all of these things, whereas we see how, Brazilian culture can be celebrated. But it is inspiring to hope that we can link the two and see the similarities in the language, and see what has come down from centuries in being transpired in Portuguese. But also, if you look at, Portuguese language being spoken in Portugal, you'll also find some words and expressions that can be rooted back to West African languages, even Congolese languages. So it's a strong bond there. There are some questions coming in, I think, but before I put the questions to you, Yinka, I want to move to our next speaker, Sanya, who will also be speaking on reconnecting Africa with another region, completely different region. We're talking about Serbia today, and her topic is reconnecting Africa with Serbia. So Sanya here is the liaison executive for the African Business Chamber in Serbia, ABC. And she's which is a young chamber with high goals, striving to improve market opportunities through strengthening its influence and engagement. So Sanya and her collaborators run the project with the mission of reviving the building of the economic, industrial, and commercial relations, promoting the strengthening of cultural and friendly collaboration, again, between African Serbians and companies from the countries in the region. The African Business Chamber in Serbia and Sanya share a vision that is to achieve quality business connection, promoting growth and development of countries, but also providing support in this process and using the overall potential of the market. Sanya seeks to connect African, Serbian, and regional country markets on a national, cultural, and traditional level again. Sanya, thank you so much for joining us. Happy Africa Day. And you have the floor for 8 minutes to tell us more about reconnecting Africa with Serbia.
Thank you, Crystal, for this thorough introduction. That is correct. I have nothing to add to this introduction, but to place myself to the topic, connecting Africa and Serbia again. So let me start with that Serbia and African continent were experiencing and nurturing a variety of fields. They collaborated and supported each other in. For example, former Yugoslavia and Africa as regions pretty much compiled through a variety of sectors and contributed each other's development. So let me start with the business. For example, our architects were participated in the construction of many famous institutions on the African continent. They were in charge of building the convention center, as well as the Sheraton Hotel in Harare, Zimbabwe. These were some of the biggest projects out there through that time. And also building of the parliament in Nigeria, the Entebbe airport in Uganda, and KNAST University complex in Ghana, as well as the International Fair Complex in Lagos, etc. As well, our banks have had their branches there for doing easier business. For example, our lead companies participated in building Africa infrastructure as well during Yugoslav period and continues within today. The African continent is the continent actually of the future, and one of the highest with growth rates is precisely in 7 African countries. So collaboration in the past as well as in the present and in the future is based on agriculture, information technology, oil industry, mining, solar energy, water energy, and education. So cooperation is currently most concentrated in Angola, Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt, Libya, Mozambique, and other African countries are slowly re-entering in the project. So we can exchange our energies and continent advantages. And especially we are geographically close continents, even though we are not similar in between, we are very close. So the next field would be a culture. The museum, and I quote, the museum was created as a result of great lasting friendship, cooperation, and support of the Yugoslav people in Africa and African countries. I quote director Maria from Museum of African Arts in Belgrade here. So the question is the May 25th Africa Day in Africa or Youth Day in Yugoslavia? That is actually the day our former president Tito was born. So we have the mutual date due to a policy and collaboration, but Tito is no alive today, and well, Yugoslavia is not. It is Serbia and the regional countries. So May 25th marks Africa's Day in memory of the founding of the Organization of African Unity, today's African Union on 63. And here is present birthday of Tito, our former president. So the date is considered the day of the liberation and unification of Africa. The urban legend reads that precisely because of the Youth Day, as a symbol of friendship with Yugoslavia and Tito, this date was chosen to be the day of the whole Africa. Nyampa, Koren Nzinzi, is the figurative sense of man cannot survive alone, and presents great message to all visitors to that museum. Museum of African Art has not been changed for a full 44 years, and the objects mostly come from West Africa, Ghana, Mali, Ivory Coast, and Burkina Faso. And the Yugoslav couple, the former Yugoslav ambassadors to Ghana and Mali, formed that museum since opening in 1977. They're called the Zagorac and Pečar, decided to give Belgrade all the items they received and collected during their stay in Africa. Even Nelson Mandela, former president of the Republic of South Africa, has been an honorary citizen of Belgrade, our capital city. Due to education field, during the 50s in former century, the influx of students from Africa and the Middle East was pretty high. There was 266 foreign students from 39 countries even. Most of them, they were from Middle East, Africa, Western Europe, and Asia. And lack of study programs in English in Serbia during those years. Basic studies in English are possible only in the Faculty of Medicine, which discourages many students from studying, but that is not a problem today. For example, in Belgrade and Novi Sad, in addition to medical and English language, you can study pharmacy, dentistry, economics, political sciences, and mechanical sciences. In Novi Sad, in addition, you can study mathematics in English, and in Niš, our south part, of country, you can study electronic faculty. Foreign students did not have the right to apply for accommodation in student dormitories, and thus the cost of living there increased significantly. But today that is not a problem as well, because we collaborate with our universities on that level. And regarding healthcare that we are connected in, we delivered, for example, 40,000 tons of food products to the Central African Republic last year, initiative from our government of Serbia to aid our brother people. And that was fully in realization. And the food products such as pasta, salt, oil, sugar, in total quantities of more than 300 300,000 tons were delivered to the friendly states of Zimbabwe, Madagascar, Eswatini, Comoros, Lesotho, and Central African Republic. So the Republic of Serbia was proud on this collaboration that the African countries that dated back to the beginning of the formation of the non-aligned movement, because our relations have always been based on solid foundations of unity, mutual understanding, support, collaboration, solidarity, and our Prime Minister pointed that out. And for these reasons, our relations have a promising future because the Republic of Serbia is strongly committed to developing a comprehensive collaboration with African countries. So we addressed a video message at the closed ceremony at the Luanda Biennale, Pan-African Forum for the Culture and Peace, emphasizing that our country has nurtured friendly relations with the countries of the African continent since the founding of the non-aligned movement. As well, Republic of Serbia is trying to help its traditional friends in the fight against the pandemic, and in accordance with our capabilities, we selflessly provided donations of vaccines to those who needed the most during the COVID period.
Thank you, Sonia.
Yes, so we're trying to help because we appreciate African continent. We are part of non-aligned movement as well as Asian countries. So we have similar sensibility and similar cultures on that level. We have comprehensiveness. And due to religion, His Holiness Irene, our former Serbian Patriarch, celebrated the Holy Hierarchy Liturgy in the Church of St. Thomas in Johannesburg in November of 2018, on the occasion of the celebration of 40th anniversary of a recently only Serbian church in Africa. So Serbian people who belong to the parish are most numerous in South Africa, but it's parishioners live in Botswana, Zimbabwe, Zambia, and other African countries as well. It is estimated that around 20,000 Serbs live in South Africa, actually. And we also share Islamic culture with the African continent due to our Islamic society here in smaller percentage than it's the Christian society, but we do have a lot of Muslim people here.
Thank you, Sonia. I'm going to have to ask you to wrap up your comments.
Okay, I'm finishing. Regarding sport events, our coach Micho, this year will try to lead Uganda to the third and final round of African qualification for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. And for him, Africa lead his career in football very high. And regarding our chamber, to close my speech, ABC is a non-profit organization founded in 2020 as a business club, but in 2021 the club was assigned status of chamber so it could contribute to the values of society and its economy with the mission to reunite African, Serbian, and markets of countries in the region. So our mission is, in addition to building economics, industrial and commercial relations, we promote strengthening that culture and friendly collaborations. And our vision is reflecting achieving quality business connections, promoting growth and development of your business, providing support in this process, using the overall potential of that market. And along the way, we tend to achieve better connections. So the African Business Chamber saw Africa as a huge potential continent and very close continent to us, so we could continue with our synergy during that mission. Thank you.
So this is actually very interesting, and I can see there's a comment that echoes my feeling that there are very strong and
impressions.
Yeah, no, there are really strong relationships between Serbia and Africa, especially as you mentioned through the non-aligned movement, which some of us may have guessed, and I think there will be a question coming to you later on that. So thank you to both of you for your comments so far in highlighting the strong links between, cross-continent partners. I have a few questions for you, and it builds on this non-aligned alliance of countries. Does Serbia being a post or ex-Yugoslavia country mean that it has a different understanding of the need to build deep relationships with Africa compared to other, let's say, Western countries? You're muted.
Sorry, actually, Serbia and the most of regional countries are not part of European Union, even though we are geographically part of Europe, and we are one of the most ancient people, Slavic people, Slavs. But we are in alignment with Asia and Africa on this level, even though our president needs to be oriented to West culture as well. We are mostly connected with the East on collaboration, but because we are part of Europe and we are actually geographically posted in the very important spot called Balkan. On Turkish, Balkan means mountain. They were here for 5 centuries. So we are politically, strategically, and geographically in the most important place in Europe. And that's why all paths are going through us to Asia, to Africa, from Europe, and vice versa.
And it's very interesting. I mean, the Balkans and the integration of Balkans in Europe, and especially the European Union, is a long topic that we could go into. But I think there are similarities in the relationships that the Balkans, Western Balkans, are trying to build with Europe, and the relationship that Africa is trying to build with Europe. And it could be an interesting model because, as you say, there are strong relationship with the East, with China, especially in infrastructure and exchanges, etc.
And Russia, of course. Yes.
Russia, of course, yes. But it could be, it's an interesting parallel because we do see the same trends happening in Africa, where countries are turning towards their partners of the East and Northeast to get the support that they aren't getting from their,
I suppose that is the reason that you are as well better connected is perhaps of the Middle East moment. So that is a quite large connection.
Yes, absolutely. So I have more questions for you, Sonia, and I want to encourage the audience to put their questions in the Q&A and the chat. But before then, I have another question for you, Yinka. Thank you so much for your comments earlier. I did mention very briefly, I mean, the forcible enslavement of African people. So the American diaspora in general, the whole Americas, and Brazil in particular, has a particular bond with Africa due to slavery and the forcible displacements of millions of Africans. But could you speak more of the power of the traditions that have been passed down for centuries and things that you see, concrete examples for our audience that you see have become inherently Brazilians?
Yeah, I can't get it very well. I can't get the question very well.
Sorry, can you give us concrete examples of traditions that have been passed down, Yoruba traditions that have been passed down?
Wow. That's interesting. Actually, you see, like I tell you, if you're in Brazil, it's like you are in Africa, you are in Yoruba land, actually. Like today, if you talk of Yoruba divinity, the practice of Yoruba religion, the African religion, it's really, really deep here in Brazil. And not to even talk of the mode of dressing, how Brazilians dress, you know, just the way you are dressed, the moderator, this elegant way you just have an African Brazilians dress this in this manner in Brazil. They walk in the streets of Brazil dressed like this, elegantly dressed. They are proud to be Africans, to be not just the Yorubas, even the Africans in diaspora. Even the Igbo community in Brazil is improving too. We have a lot of Igbos in Latin America, not just in Brazil, in Uruguay, in Paraguay, in Argentina. We have them everywhere. So it's like we're moving Africa to Brazil. You know, one way or the other, the food, the cuisine. You go to Bahia, in Bahia, we have what we call acarajé. Akaraje is a popular, how do you say it, a cake in EU. We call it akara in Yoruba. It came here during the slave trade. You know, today it's at a heritage here in Brazil. You know, if you go to Bahia, they sell it every day in Bahia. If you want to feel Africa, just go to Bahia. You go to Bahia, there's a state of Salvador in Bahia, you will see you are in Africa. Yes. You walk around, even the way they dance, our dance systems in Africa is there. The drums, everything you see in Brazil is Africa. So when you celebrate Africa Day, you celebrate Brazil. And I must tell you, they extended this to all Latin American countries. For the slave trade, they were forced down here as slaves, but today they celebrate it. You see, we have, I don't know if you've had that before. We have, I think, kingdom in Bolivia, which is, the slaves were also drafted there, Argentina to Chile. We have a kingdom there in Peru, where we call it Chinchanos. We have kids. Mostly the Yoruba, about several millions of Yorubas were. Today, a lot of them are tracing their route back to West Africa. Now, if you go to Ashanti, we have the Ghanaians, they came here too. If you go to even Angola, we have the Kimbundus, we have the Umbundus, they came here too as slaves. Go to Mozambique, you find them, they came here too. But with all these, the tribe that actually refuse to throw away or to forget or to abandon the tradition, their religion, the Yoruba tribe, you know. So they are practically leading today in Brazil. If you see, just for you to understand, the Yoruba language is official in Brazil, you know.
It is a really strong subsisting bond, and I think there is more that needs to be done in the relationship between Brazil and Africa. There is a lot that is being done on the cultural level, I feel, but maybe more needs to be done on the economic level, and for example, sports and other things. Some of the relationships that Sonia has mentioned, health collaboration, etc. Although historically, Latin America has been very close also to Africa, some of which through the non-aligned movement as well. I can think of several examples. We won't go into that today. But I have another question for Sonia. I think it's very, very sweet and not ironic, but it's perfect tie-in that on Africa Day, we've managed to put the two of you together who have managed to make a statement that links Africa Day very specifically with both of your general background, linking it to Tito's birthday in Serbia and linking it very strongly to celebrating Brazil when we celebrate Africa Day. So
thank you. Actually, I need to outline that I have an additional colleague working with me, Gilmara, and she's from Angola. So she represents the African continent for that chamber. Our president, his background comes from Burundi. He's a mixed man from our Vojvodina part, and from Burundi, his father is from there. So he founded actually this private chamber, and she comes from Angola. Her husband works in Uganda, and he's Serbian. So we are all mixing here.
Run deeper than we think, but no, that is very inspiring, because I think a lot of our audience may not know about how strong the bond is and how strong the representation is, because we do know about, you know, African students going to Eastern Europe and the Balkans for access.
And vice versa, actually.
Exactly, but I don't think that the vice is highlighted as much as is the
it's not, because our universities are actually accepted, most of them, in the whole world. So it was more productive for African people to come here, so they could actually have certificated, acknowledged diplomas. That is the only issue, actually.
Which is a shame, but it is good to highlight that relationship, a deep running relationship. I had another question, and I hope you'll be able to to answer this. You do speak about connecting again and reconnecting. Does that mean that there was a time where the connection kind of fell through? What could you attribute it to?
Yes, actually, after our former Yugoslav president died, everything fell apart because Yugoslavia fell apart. So we couldn't actually maintain each other's relations during that political period, which lasted for a few decades. And this was the initial idea to continue with it, because we actually already have a good fragment, a good foundation to do that. So it was like a vision to our chamber president, because he is honorable member of our National Chamber of Commerce. And this was like his personal project.
But it's inspiring, and it speaks to a lot of the things that were mentioned earlier today, that we need to be the change that we want to see, and we need to actually push forward, less talking, more doing. If we see that our leaders aren't doing the things that we know that they need to start, then let us start it, and then inevitably they will follow the lead, because this is the only way forward.
Actually, I'm sorry, we already started, because we're connecting B2B, investment to investment. We're going to expose, they are coming here. So we already started 1 year ago. We have actually strategic partnerships with a couple of chambers in Africa, national chambers, and we already have partners, collaborative partners, companies, so we are already on it.
Oh, perfect. I mean, you guys have got it, and I can only hope, and we can only hope at AfricaFora that, I mean, it is something that has been done in other countries, but we can only hope that this is being emulated in the places where this relationship isn't pursued as strongly as it is.
And thanks for AfricaFora, actually, who supported on this occasion that project. So everyone, thank you.
Our goal to connect with like-minded people and people who adhere to our vision, which we obviously do. I have one last question for Yinka before I bring the session to a wrap. Before I do, I just want to encourage everyone that has been joining so far. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. Otherwise, we will have more sessions tomorrow. We will be using this same link. So make sure that you tune in tomorrow again at 10. So Yinka, one last question for you. If you were to, how you're showing how Brazil is Africa. If we're celebrating Africa Day, we're celebrating Brazil. Do you think there is an area where this bond can be strengthened? Because you talked about food, you talked about attire, you talked about dance and music. Maybe politically or policy.
Yeah. You're very right. You see, I just hope we're gonna have a better Africa, actually, a better Nigeria, and put it that way, because the Brazilian government, you know, the agriculture here in Brazil is quite interesting, you know, and I've had cases where the government of Brazil, I think they have a lot of agricultural linked investment with Ghana, and they tried it with Nigeria, and it's been a little bit difficult in Nigeria for the system, but I think it's working. You know, Brazil has been doing a lot. I mean, there are a lot of cultural link between Brazil, the bond, including the bond, even educationally, sponsor a lot of programs there, you know, which Nigerians and Africans who come here to study, you know, to learn more, actually. And talk of sports too, yeah, what I'm saying, in you know, Brazil, a football nation, a soccer nation, let me put it that way. You can see the reflection, even the samba, the dance, the way Brazilians play football. You know, they play football, you know, with a kind of happiness, a kind of joy. You know, the dribbles you find on the Brazilian, these jingles, this style, is practically African. They'll tell you, we play, we dance, we do just like Africans, you know. So the bond today, I can see was even tourism. With all these things they do here in Brazil, they still go to Africa to step down on the soil, to say, oh, I've been to Africa. So I think Africa generally, we need to look toward, need to see to Brazil. Brazil is really doing it. Brazil is doing it. You know, Brazil is really promoting Africa. You see, and apart from being the second most populous Black nation after Nigeria, 70% Brazilians are half full, you know. So, yeah. And one very good thing is we don't have, you can tell me because you're white, you're not African in Brazil. A white person is African in Brazil because one way or the other, you must have had the blood in you. Somebody must have passed through your family. A Black person must have passed through your family. So they tell you, I'm an African. And there's one thing in this religion they practice in Brazil. Once you are initiated into any of the African religion in Brazil, you are considered African. They'll tell you,
yes.
They tell you, I'm initiated in your religion. I'm a voodoo. I'm whatever. I'm this, I'm that. So I'm African. You don't look at my color. Just look at me.
I mean, so that speaks to the complex heritage of the continent of Latin America.
It's very interesting it's a nice place to. I think we need to celebrate Brazil where we celebrate Africa.
No, we do. We absolutely do. Thank you very much, Inga and Sonia. Thank you both of you for joining us today and drawing the links between Serbia and Africa and Brazil and Africa. This has been a very interesting conversation. It also puts more weight on the comments that some of our speakers have said before, and I think you quoted a principle, Sonia, which is man cannot be changed alone, and it's inspiring to see everyone come together behind this shared vision that we all can bring forward the change that we want to see. Thank you so much for joining us today. Before we finish, I just want to, as we do every day, we share an exhibitor video. One of the exhibitors that we're having today is a drone maker, and these all have in common that they're sharing the knowledge that exists on the continent that is somehow invisible to a lot of the eyes on the continent and also outside. I want to recommend again to everyone that if you want more information on anything that we're doing, you can have a look at our website and you can follow us on social media. We will be sharing everything that has been discussed, that will be discussed, and you can get more information on what the speakers are talking about. So about the drone that we have today and the invention that we have today, I hope that staff can follow and share the video so that everyone can see. Yes. So this that you will see on the screen is the creation of Akitunde Oluwaseyi Olarewaju, who is a Nigerian drone UAV builder. He is an autodidact inventor and he builds drones and radio control airplane from scratch using styrofoam, plywood, aluminum and local materials. So the drone that you see here today was built from the materials that I've just mentioned, and it is a delivery drone, which is that can deliver goods to a customer in a good condition and reduces the chances that the package would be damaged or stolen. The drone itself can also hardly be damaged or crashed as it is flying, because if one of the motors of the drone shuts down, the drone can still glide in the air like a plane with the help of the wing that is attached to the fuselage and land safely without damaging the package. And I think this is extremely relevant because when we think of, as we know, when you want to order a package when you're somewhere, I can speak from experience, when you're in Lagos, ordering a package from an international brand is a hustle on its own. And we see, for example, in the US, they've implemented, Amazon and some other companies have implemented drone deliveries to facilitate their deliveries. So I'm sure that when you think of delivery packages in Africa and in Lagos and Nigeria, you do not think of a drone UAV delivery as we've seen here. You've seen the package being delivered safely with a chute to slow the fall and to make sure it is delivered in a safe manner. Akitunde, who is the inventor of this this drone has been, he started building in 2013. His first flying airplane was in 2016, and he's since been able to build any kind of plane and air drones and completely autodidact. I mean, this speaks again to our first session where we had our, for example, John Anamam Sunday, who completely changed. He was an artist and he went into prosthetics and flesh cover building because he saw that there was a need for it, and he learned how he needed to learn. And it speaks to other people. There was also the leader of the makers community in Nigeria, in Abia State, who joined us yesterday and who spoke about seeing a gap, filling the gap. So it's very inspiring to see the invention that Akitunde created and how he's putting it to use. What you see today is a maquette, but it's hoping to be developed for mass production and delivery very soon. So thank you very much. I hope this was inspiring to see this invention today, and I hope that you've been inspired through all the conversation that we've had today. For a reminder, if you want more information on the speakers that have joined us, you can look at our website. There'll be the speaker bios with all their background that you need. For any questions you may have to partner with us, you can contact us at admin@africafora.com. We want to thank again our partners for today and for the whole conference, sorry, Zingi magazine, Zingi Africa magazine. And I want to encourage you all to use the same link tomorrow to join us for our 7th session. We have 2 more sessions tomorrow, which will be one French-speaking session at 10. It will be having some simultaneous translation. So those of you who are only English-speaking can still join us. I see there's a French coach in the audience. You're welcome to join us and follow it directly in French. And we have another final session at 11, looking at media at the service of democracy and development. And that will be our closing session. And we'll have a final word from the founder of AfricaFora at that time. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I am Crystal, and this brings us to a close for day 2. Happy Africa Day. I forgot to mention, if you would like to get in touch, with the Akitunde and the drone invention, just get in touch with us, as they're looking for an investor to be able to move to mass production and distribution. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.